Ha. I see you. All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of Ridiculously Professional. We are episode 11 here, Branson, right?
Stoked. It is episode 11.
Yep. For everyone joining, thanks for seeing you. As a reminder, we're the unconventional business show for people in tech and in revenue trying to upscale their careers. Really by learning from two people figuring it out every single day, having conversations about AI, how we can bring that into our trajectory of our careers and help us grow our careers, and really just staying up to date. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. We have a cool episode for today, and Branson, we're gonna dive right into it with this great equalization happening right now with the use of AI, and something that
Yeah.
we've been talking about a lot lately. Let's start off there. What does that mean? The great equalizer.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm seeing that different areas that maybe you weren't able to get into before, you're able to learn about really quickly now. You can use, any of the LLMs to kind of teach you a lot of things that maybe were very complex. You can ask AI to dumb it down for like a simpler way, because you had these really complex concepts that were siloed to just certain groups before, that you could learn how to code. You could learn in a weekend, you could probably learn the basics of sales where you might have had to take courses that took 6 months, years before. So I think it's making it possible for people to get into new areas that they never thought of before.
Yeah, well, something we talked about too is it's kind of like the rise of the technical seller, but
Yeah.
there's always going to be this like need for that soft skill of the human to human approach. But let's look at this in the lens of a sales department. Maybe you have like an account executive running sales, you have a BDR running top of the funnel, you have a sales engineer who is kind of that bridge between sales and product. You have rev ops or sales ops who are providing all the infrastructure that sales needs to close more deals. Don't you kind of think that all those positions are kind of consolidating with the new
Oh,
tools that we have?
100%. That's what I was gonna run into in our major sales section here. Is I'm seeing that they call it the GTM specialist, but I don't think it's always go to market. I think that back, I guess even 6 months ago or a year ago, you had each of these levels. Now you have an all-in-one person who is using AI tools to be an SDR, to be an AE, to be a sales engineer, probably to be a CSM too. Like, you're end to end doing everything. Um, yes, you still will have support from the other side, but I think that the market's really calling for this point in time somebody that can do all of it.
Yeah, 100%. So what, like, if you're trying to stick out, let's say you're someone in the market or you're someone at a job that you're just trying to add more value to your processes. Like I have a couple stories that I could share, but I want to kind of hear from you, what are things that someone can do to consolidate those processes? Should they lean heavily on the technical side if they're more of like a soft skill human person? If they're a soft skill human skill, approach, like how do they get more technical? Like what can someone do today to just be like a modern account executive going into 2026?
I think that you need to, whatever you're not good at, you need to go after. So if you are a technical person, you need to lean into learning non-technical skills. If you're non-technical, you need to learn into leaning technical skills. I think for the non-technical person, you need to start looking at systems thinking and thinking in steps of how problems would be solved. If you are a technical person, I think that you need to start looking at EQ, how people respond to certain things, not maybe the like logical way that everything works. You need to understand, people have underlying motivations and things that are feelings based, and you need to be able to work with those things that might not make sense to the technical side. But I think that everybody needs to work on their the thing that they're not good at, basically, is what they need AI to help them with.
Yeah, 100%. And AI is going to be like the bridge that will do that. I think that like there's tell me if I'm wrong, but there's always been a traditional like what type of seller are you? And we've talked about the human approach, we've talked about the technical approach. I think a lot of companies like think they want technical sellers, but then they can, miss out on some of that human approach. A lot of companies think they want a human seller, but then they miss out on that technical approach. I think it really comes down to what are you selling and who is your ICP. But again, like with this consolidation of what an account executive do or what a revenue ops person can do, I think we're going to be getting into new names here really soon
Oh
with
yeah.
what we're even going to call like someone with the power of AI and also the ability to sell what they really do and what they're called. Obviously leaning into go to market engineer right now, but even that I think will change. Back to the org structure, like do you foresee that org structure going away? Like the SE, the AE, the RevOps, the BDR, like how do you think that's going to evolve in the next couple of years as we expand into AI?
I personally think that it over time probably will just morph. Like I don't know that I think that a lot of companies are going to stick with the same traditional structure. I think that if I was, being that our show is about helping people upskill and stay ahead of things, I think that a lot more companies are going to look for those all around employees that, and this is not just in revenue. I actually saw Ramp has a position that's called I think it was a vibe marketing manager. And basically what that means is that you know how to make your own AI agents, you know how about API connections, you know about Python scripts, like all these things that, marketing, you didn't really need to know those as much before. Now you need to know all of it. So I think that certain companies will, and I think that for anybody watching this, you should think that companies are going to, because that I think is what big companies are going to focus on, is highly skilled people that can run everything from end to end.
100%. This kind of leads me into the concept of like demonstrations too, and what actually like a sales process is that I think AI is naturally changing. I think, tell me if you disagree with this, but I kind of feel like the present and want to buy concept is slowly fading with these new tools.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's really, I mean, there's always been the concept of problem resolution. Like you find a pain point and you solve that problem with your current software. Like that's sales, tech sales in a sentence kind of. But I think it's getting more and more towards really consultative selling, because now whether you're a reservation technology like the industry I'm in, or whether you're an accounting software, like every tech is adopting AI processes and is
Yes.
adopting AI tools within their own SaaS. So it's becoming more and more like less like check out this like cool shiny feature and does that justify the buy? And I think it's kind of moving more into one, how does this company partner with us? Like are they aligned with like what we're trying to accomplish? Like as a tech partner, is this a good partnership? And two, is their software actually like solving pain points instead of just selling me on like it's got a moonroof, it's got AC, and it's got weather,
Yes.
grade mats on the floor. Like that's dying, in my opinion.
Yes. I think in your car analogy, they want to know when you're telling them that you're taking trips every weekend, the best car to take trips every weekend, the moonroof and all that is great, but they want to know that you're paying attention to the fact that you want a certain type of car. And I actually think that the great thing that is happening with AI is before you had to almost like white label a little heavier, like, you know, you can customize things a lot differently now. I know product side is going to hate saying that, but I mean, I think that it's going to open a world where you can say to your car thing, like, I really like this car, but can you make it so that the seats are leather? Yeah, we actually can for a little bit, because we want to have the perfect car for you. So I think that it's not just the features, it's giving the customer exactly what it is that they're looking for, and you need to be good at understanding exactly what it is that they're looking for.
Wait, that's really exciting there, because that you just like hit the nail. So you're telling me that basically you can custom build solutions on top of whatever software you have, right?
Yes,
Like
a lot of companies, yes, will be
so
able to do that.
so is it fair to say like technology is becoming more malleable for
Yes.
individuals? Yeah, and this is primarily in Branson. This is something we run into at WaveRes all the time, but primarily we are moving towards a future where it's actually more so connectivity that really makes you a valuable tool instead of the floor. Because if you want to accomplish some of those things, like the example of like, do you want your seats leather? Let me build out a process that can make them leather. What you're saying is like, if I'm in res tech and I want dynamic pricing, the question is, do I as a company build out dynamic pricing native, or do I just connect with a platform that's really good at dynamic pricing?
Yes.
And it almost feels like technology with AI is moving closer to each other, and everything is able to work with each other a lot more. And like, right?
Yes, and yeah, and actually to that, because that actually had my head going, is I think for the AE, that's making you have to understand how all the technology works so that you can serve up that idea, because the customer might not know which one is better. Your company might have its own constraints, so you're going to have to figure out like, hey, is there this other solution that we might be able to move in with, and how could that happen? I think that it does make the AE far more consultative. It actually makes you more than, again, back to, you're not just a feature seller or a hey, look at the shiny thing that we just came out with. You're actually like collaboratively working with the person across from you to get a solution that they're looking for.
And you have access to more tools. You could
Oh
almost
yes.
look at it like, oh, I'm selling a separate service, right? Or now I'm selling a different product on top of the product I am. I think, yeah. I mean, we're, where I'm looking at, we're looking at strategic partnerships. And frankly, I'm fine with selling a certain service as long as it, like let's say we sell the core service, that is what we do. But then
Yes.
they want leather seats, they want XYZ
Yes.
functionality. It's like, okay, let me bring in our close friends XYZ partner to
Yep.
solve that problem.
To fix that one. Yes.
And we'll white label this, put it under one contract,
Yep.
and now your problems are solved. I feel like that was not as accessible even 5 years ago. You know what I mean?
No, especially for the AE, because I think the AE needs to know like things like API connections, and like I said, like I think that the AE is actually really problem solving and diagnosing collaboratively now,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing the whole scope of everything that is going on in your industry, in tech, in, you're basically, it's like going back to first principles thinking of being like, all right, if we stripped everything out, is it possible that I could get to the solution that the person across from me is talking about, and how would I do that?
Mm-hmm. 100%. I think this is probably a good place to pause and move on to tech report. But like
Yeah.
to summarize this conversation, if you're an account executive, if you're in any type of revenue function for a company, I think we can agree that you really need to look at yourself in the mirror and look at what your strengths and weaknesses are. And if your strength is human to human connection, I think that's amazing. But you need to go look at the technical side of things and really learn. I would learn is a I think learn is a little like too broad. Like you need to understand
Yes.
AI, because you can also, like we've talked about Branson before, you can also kind of like lean in a little bit too much to AI, and not really, if you don't understand how LLMs actually work and the predictive model behind them, you could just like put over reliance in these outputs based on your prompts. And now that's kind of like wishy-washy. But if you truly understand how these systems work, you're going to be ahead of the game, and then you can use these tools to your advantage.
Yeah, massively. I think your word of understanding is the way to go, because I think that AI is moving too fast to be learning it constantly. You need to understand everything that's at the base level for it, so that you can see why things would be used or where they're going, more than, again, it's just a replacement of the new flashy thing. Like, it's cool to stay up to date on that, but you need to know why all that stuff is doing what it's doing.
100%, 100%. Well, let's take a break and let's do a little tech report, and let's
tech
keep up to date
report.
what's happening. I have a couple things on the agenda, but this week we wouldn't really be able to, like, if we didn't talk about Ramp a little bit.
Oh yeah.
I think we'd be missing maybe we can like only talk about Ramp. For those who don't know, Ramp is a fintech startup. It's focused on corporate spend and finance automation. They raised 300. This is tough to say. They raised 300 million,
That
pushing its valuation to 32 billion, as in Branson B
that
billion.
is a massive money dance. I think it's probably one of the biggest money dances that we've done so far. Because yeah, that is an insane amount of, like, good for them. That's awesome. But that is a ton of money with a gigantic valuation.
That is a ton of money.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to be like cognizant and careful. Like there's an aspect of like great, awesome, let's celebrate. But then there's also an aspect of like some of these companies are getting massive valuations. Um, and it like maybe doesn't make full sense. I don't know. Am I allowed to say that? But
Uh,
it's interesting. Like I'm not trying to come to a conclusion on this. In fact, I would highly recommend. I don't know if you've seen it, but a lot of the account executives at Ramp have been posting on LinkedIn, sharing their thoughts, and it's actually been pretty interesting. Some kind of posting what we're talking about here, like it's scary, but it's also really exciting. You know, as a seller, obviously they're going to have, you know, a check of resources to do their job well, and that's obviously really attractive if you're selling any product, having that resources behind you to do a good job. But that's a big B. That's a big B,
yes.
Branson. That's a big B.
I think where it goes into, we haven't talked about this very much, but something that I think that is not really told to AEs when they're in tech, and this is why we actually give tech news every week, is part of being in tech is you need to understand the entire landscape. You got to understand what companies are raising, where they're at, what those raises mean. That is going to change just how you see everything about tech. I think it's going to change, you know, when you get into a company and a company offers you equity, you need to know what each round means. You need to know how much each, you know, how much those funds overall, what they mean for the company, how they're being allocated for you and your role, how they're being allocated overall. Like, I think that people don't realize that the reason that we get excited for this is because it changes the landscape too for everybody else, because when one company gets a large raise like that, it affects other companies overall. It might affect your company if you're a competitor. Like, everything changes. So I think that is something we can say is like, if you are in tech, you should be paying attention to these raises. You should be paying attention to everything that's going on.
And frankly, like, comment, subscribe to Ridiculously Professional, because we will do that
Yes.
for you.
That's why we're here. But
That-
yeah, to give them the background is why you should pay attention to this more than just news.
and honest, Branson, this is a really good transition to something you were talking about recently. We were talking about behind the scenes. Can you be an entrepreneur without owning a business? I'm teeing you up for a certain phrase we were talking about recently.
You can be an entrepreneur.
An entrepreneur. See,
Yes.
let's talk about that for a second, because everything you're
Yes.
talking about is if you look at a theme here, talking about, hey, you don't want to be like, you know, just like a presentation and buy. You got to understand your weaknesses. You have to really build on the technical aspect. You have to understand the technical aspect. Now we're looking at into the market. You need to understand what the market is doing, but you're not even a business owner. You're quote unquote an account executive, you know, a individual contributor. But like, I feel like, Branson, like this is how you really break into kind of probably like enterprise level selling and start to kind of build a business within businesses. So talk a little bit about entrepreneur.
I think this concept, I've seen a lot of different companies. I know they don't directly say it, but like Vanta, who are building these positions within companies that are basically like, you're going to run all the processes the same as if you had a company, but you're going to have the resources of the company that you're working at.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it changes the landscape of people that look at entrepreneurship because they want to build something that is, I don't know, their own, that they can sell later on, where you are still able to learn all those things and still have all of the fun and flexibility of having your own business, but you kind of get rid of a lot of the things, I guess the risks that are on the outside, because having your own business, whether every LinkedIn guru wants to talk about it or not, is inherently very, very risky. Mm-hmm. So I think that entrepreneurship and actually what these companies are doing really help people to learn how to, all the concepts of having your own business and the concepts of running systems like a business does, but not having your own business.
I mean, frankly, there's probably a lot of account executives, maybe some listening to this episode, that probably don't really think about this. Like they probably wake up in the morning, they look at what their to-do list is the day, what demos or what meetings that they have, do some quick research on these individual accounts and run a presentation personalized to the individual account. And
Yeah.
that's their day to day. Now, not saying anything's wrong with that. Is that going to get you to enterprise? No.
It won't get you to leadership positions. It won't get you further along because you need to be thinking about the business in total more than just, I know you are the individual contributor, but I think that it shifts that mindset of you are a piece in this as the individual contributor, but here's how the overall ecosystem works.
And it's taking really ownership of your core job function. I think like being an entrepreneur is at the root of it, taking ownership over your core job function instead of just doing the core job function. I really like that comment when we talked about it, when you brought up entrepreneur, because I feel like it's really attractive. And I don't think like obviously entrepreneur maybe is has a special place for like sellers and account executives and people in the revenue function of a company, because usually there's alignment in some sort of like commission, right, that is aligned with how the company grows. That makes it feel more like an ownership stake. But even if you have, like, let's say you're in marketing, can you still be an entrepreneur, part of a marketing team, part of a product team, part of a customer success team?
Yes. I think yes, and I also think when you said it, what really came to my mind is I think that a lot of people when they're working, everything's binary to them. You are either working in a company or you have your own business. And then, each person pitches why one is the best idea ever. But I think what is changing recently, especially with AI and everything, is there's blends where you can figure out, hey, because being in big companies for a lot of people it teaches you a lot. You have all sorts of things that you don't have on the other end. And same thing with having a business. It has things that, you don't get from the other side. So I like it because I think that it opens people's minds up to maybe there's more options than what it is that the binary world they think. Maybe there's a blend that is perfect for your life and your career.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Man, I miss this.
I didn't set the timer for it, so I don't know where we're at on the.
No, we're actually doing really good. I think we're doing fine on time. We're about 22 minutes. We try to keep these 30 minutes. So let's keep moving. That was a really good conversation from Tech Report. I'll finish it off with just a quick little update. We always like to do a quick little sports minute and what's happening with sports, and it's still the obviously NFL season right now. I'm big football fans, and I think like the biggest thing happening right now is continued like AI integration with athletes. So the NFL actually started a new concept called the digital athlete. So it's in partnership with AWS and Infinite Athlete. Each player has a digital avatar that tracks workload, movement, acceleration, and other biomechanical data to forecast injury risk. This is so like if we're like in a video game, not to go to the video games here, but like if we're in a video game, like you're basically able to track, let's say like UFC had a video game that was like when you like threw a punch or whatever, like the elbow would start to get red.
Yes.
And then like if you threw a kick, like the knee would start to get red. Like that's literally what we're moving towards in athletic biomechanics.
It's awesome in terms of keeping. I think I saw the NBA is having issues too with like ligament issues because they think that workload might be pretty heavy for the year. I think it's good to be able to change policy for like to really change things, but also like that really could impact how you're moving. Because I mean, think about it in your thing where you're like, I'm at 60% on my elbow. I got to watch out for my elbow now. Like I wasn't thinking about this before, like now. And what if it changes like the way you run and everything? Like that actually could mess with how you act.
You bring up such a good point. It's like, it's almost like kind of that guiding invisible hand concept, but
yes.
Yeah. Like if you like do the, like, let's say you go to the sideline, can you imagine this real quick? That like you go to the sideline and you sit down and the digital athletic trainer comes up and is like, you increased your workload on your left knee by 10% on that last play. Like, I'm sorry. This is like the last thing I want to hear if I'm in the middle of a game. maybe
Yeah.
at the end, maybe like this could fit in more nicely like at the end of a season is
Yeah.
like it, and you look at it like depreciation, like hey, your body compared to last season, your body depreciated by 10% more this year. You're looking at probably able to, and where this could actually really come into play is baseball. Because like the mechanics of ligaments in the elbow and pitchers, it's like
Yes.
very black and white. And like the body is so understood at this point that they can just know based off certain throwing motions how long an arm is going to last. And this could tying this back into business. You could use this as an agent to negotiate different salaries. You're like, well, my current client's output is I almost like
Yeah.
hate talking about this though because it's like feels like it feels like there's a human element being taken away here.
Literal inside baseball. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can.
Literally.
Yes.
It just feels like we're now like very mechanical with this approach. But think about it. Like if you
Yeah.
know you have a 70% chance of only lasting 2 more seasons, you're probably going to go where you can get the most money for those last 2 seasons, you know?
I mean, you're right. It does open up a massive world that you didn't have before. Like you said, like, okay, on extreme levels, you could have a coach that is sitting there and is like, this person is at a 10% probability that they're going to make, I probably don't want to use this play right now because of it. I think that, I mean, it's with all tech. It has its gives and takes basically. It does take some of the magic away though too. When like you said, like because when you have those plays where guys running down and then does like a flip that goes over 4 people, and you're like, what just happened? And then all of a sudden somebody comes back and is like, well, actually it's because he had a 46% on his. You're like, I don't care. I just thought it was a cool play.
Yeah, yeah. It brings up a really interesting point, but it also
Yeah.
like in the lens of strategy, it also expands on the game itself. Like
Huge.
there's
Yes.
a whole new aspect to the game here of odds and probabilities, and I just I feel like we need to continue that conversation with like sports. There's obviously going to be more and more of this coming out with sports,
Yeah.
and we'll keep a close eye on just like how it will not only affect sports itself, but the business and strategy of sports behind it. All right, Brands, we have like about 5 minutes left on our clock here.
Yeah.
Take it away a little bit. I know you want to talk
I
about some stuff.
Well, I think that to me, I was gonna throw this in as like a leadership piece, but I've kind of heard it as we're going through this, and it's something I think that people don't understand as a salesperson. Part of your job is to pay attention to the changes that are happening in your industry, in a global sense, like all around, because you need to be able to move and make recommendations based on everything. And I feel like when we first started this, AI and tech, I mean, I know people talk about the bubble and everything. I think a lot of people are sitting there waiting, and they're like, hey, if this doesn't shake out, I'm not going to have to change anything. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And what I feel like, if you listen to the conversation that we've had here, is the world is changing. People are using AI. They are using versions of it, different automations. And I think that at this point in time, if you're not leaning into it, you're not doing your job. You need to know what is going on. And so this is not like a lecture or anything. It's more like if you were waiting for a time to get in and learn about AI, now you need to figure out about this. You need to see how it's playing across everything, because as you can see, lots of people and lots of industries are using it, and it can help your job, and it can help you understand just how the world is changing overall.
I cannot agree more. I think the challenge, and really to myself, it's something I try to do more and more, is to also expand upon what you use it for.
Yes.
I feel like it's so easy to just like, I don't know, what's a like you just go into it thinking like, write this email for me. Like, come on,
Yes.
this is a powerful tool that can just do like write your own dang emails. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like use this for strategy. Like I'll bring this up, and I know this is a little bit of a rabbit hole, but we'll keep this short and clean. I've been really liking the probabilistic and predictive side of using chat, where you can basically plug in, Just like Dune, like I was telling you, this is literally a mentat in Dune, but you can plug in different inputs like via the prompts and make assumptions on different possible outcomes of the future. Like, hear me out. I'm not talking
Yeah.
about like the future, but like, let's say if you plug in certain numbers for, let's say, your quota or whatever, and you look at your TAM, and then you look at your SAM, really, like your serviceable addressable market, and then you look at, your individual activity metric. Like, you can run in and kind of get really mathematical, not to bring it back to the sports and AI comment, you know what I mean? Like, looking at
Yeah.
these different, but like kind of to
But
bring it
yeah,
back to that,
yes.
you can get really technical about like what it
Yes.
takes to succeed, and then run different outcomes on different adjustments. Oh, okay, what if I make
Yep.
this adjustment? What if I make that adjustment? How will that affect the future? Like, that's what I've been liking to use it for, is just like kind of to think out different thought processes and where they would end up.
What I'm hearing in this is people can start looking in the same way that all your manager, your director, your VP, like this is how everybody else has been looking at these things. You can be doing that now too for yourself to help your own stats go up. I know that they have like a lot of these. Gong has a great like AI feature that's going on. There's a lot of these products that have things like this, but I think the agency is on you now as the IC, or as the somebody that's in management or above. Like, everybody now has the ability to look at these stats, run options like you just said, and hey, what if I do this way? What could possibly happen? All right, what if you can make really informed decisions now.
100%. And I feel like that's been the theme of today's episode. Like, maybe really resonating with the soft skill, human to human, maybe seller, and really pushing everyone to think more on that technical side, because in the coming
Yes.
years, 5-10 years, it's going to be a blend. Like, you're
Oh
going to
yeah.
really need to know how to not just build relationships and build rapport and do the classic thing, right? But
Yes.
really to understand these tools that are coming out, and keeping an eye on the evaluations of all these tools, because we'll see which ones will stick around.
Yes.
And again, keep
100%.
keep on tuning into Ridiculously Professional, because we'll do all that for you. All you got to do is just hang out with us for 30 minutes each week, and we'll keep it running. Well, it felt great to get back into it. For those who have made it to the end here, we appreciate you watching. We haven't been launching as many episodes lately, and I feel like it's just worth shouting out that we're both really busy right now, and we want to get back to this. So we're gonna get to the point where we can do weekly episodes again and have more guests back on, and keep growing this thing. So for those tuning in who have been faithful listeners, really appreciate you. Keep spreading the word, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks everybody. Have a good one.
Peace.